praises, honor, and glory to our Pharaoh Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachak, with us double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom. All right, just get right into it. We're in Genesis chapter 12. Okay, which we'll do it in another lesson, probably the next lesson I do. But I'll point out something here that's interesting. But for now, we'll just keep with this lesson. So it says Genesis 12:1. So it says Abram journeys to Egypt. It says now the Lord. Okay, so whenever you see Lord in all capital letters, that's what the name of the Heavenly Father should be. Or whenever you see God the same way, written in all capital letters, that's the name of the Heavenly Father. All right. So it says now Yahweh has said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will shew thee. All right. So he's been commanded to leave from, his immediate family. All right. Depart from them. And I'm going to show you a land. All right. And I will make of thee a great nation. All right. I will make of thee a great nation. And I will bless thee and make thy name great. And thou shalt be a blessing. Salakia. It says, verse 3 says, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. All right. And ultimately, the families to truly be blessed are talking about the Israelites. But let's keep going. It says, verse 4 says, so Abram departed as Yahweh had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old. So he's 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. Well, yeah, because that's a good thing to point out there, because we mentioned Haran, a few times. This is after he left from Ur of the Chaldees, which is in modern day Iraq. So his father took them, and went up to Haran. Okay. So, and now he's in Haran. I think his father died in Haran. As a matter of fact, let's pull the word up real quick. Just to, some couple side notes here. Mountaineer. The city to which Abraham migrated when he left Ur of the Chaldees, and where he stayed until his father died. Yep. See, his father died here in Haran. All right, until his father died before leaving for the Promised Land, located in Mesopotamia in Padanaram, at the foot of Mount Massius, between the Khabur and the Euphrates. All right, so there you go. So it says he was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife. All right, so Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, because Lot is his nephew, right? Let's just get Lot real quick. Lawat, covering, son of Haran, and Abraham's nephew, who settled in Sodom and was delivered from its destruction by the Most High, right? Because I think Haran died. Okay, and then the other brother actually took, I think, one of his daughters to be his wife, or something like that. But anyway, it's not the point right now. And Abraham took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forward to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. All right. So there you go. So we're watching Abraham travel here, right? And remember, we read up above, it says the land that he's going to show him, right? So verse 6 says, and Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh. Okay, so I wasn't going to do it, but let's see what these places are. Shechem. Chief and advice. Manasseh, located in the valley between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, 34 miles north of Jerusalem and 7 miles southeast of Samaria. All right, so hold up. was trying to grab it. There we go. All right, so let's see. Get images here. I guess this might suffice here. Okay, so Mount Gerizim in the West Bank, or modern day. Okay, so let me see here. Oh, these maps are not too well. Oh, here's one. Let's see if it'll fuzz out for us. I don't think it's going to clear up for us, but I mean, you see it says Mount Ebal, Mount Gerizim. Okay, I mean, just at least a general idea here. So we don't have to hang on it too long. And it says in the plain of Moray, so maybe we can even get a little extra out of this. Teacher, the old tree Shechem, where Abram stopped when he first entered Canaan, close to the mountains of Ebal and Gerizim. Right, yeah, so that's the same thing they were looking for. Okay, back to the images. Oh boy, I don't think they want to give us a map. Okay, not exactly. Yeah, well, they didn't exactly show us. We got one map at least. Because actually that's the end of those images where it says see more. All right, so we pretty much got what at least what we needed. All right, but so let's keep going. So it says, and Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. Canaanites pretty much being Hamites, because after Abraham, uh, 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 not Abraham, after Noah, one of the sons were Ham. All right, and Canaan eventually came through that particular lineage. All right, I forget the particular one, but he's basically going back to the forefather, the one forefather Ham. All right, like your so-called Africans today. All right, these are the Canaanites, not the so-called Negroes. All right, these Canaanites were Hamites. So it says, and Yahweh appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed, all right, will I give this land. All right, so it says, unto thy seed will I give this land. Okay, so he's talking about one particular people here, though the seed or as many as in tribes, but those tribes are, considered as a one whole nation. So that's the seed he's talking about. Okay, and in particular, when you're talking about a direct seed, it went down to Isaac, and from Isaac it passed through to Jacob, and from Jacob that's how it got to the 12 sons. All right, which we carry on from those 12 sons. So let's keep reading. So it says, unto thy seed will I give this land. All right, the land of Canaan, right? Because that's where he said he went, right? In the last verse, lands of Canaan. It says, and there builded he an altar unto Yahweh, who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai on the east. And there he built an altar unto Yahweh, and called upon the name of Yahweh. Right? So we just get a little history here dealing with Abraham. Okay. And we're in chapter 12, so we want to jump over here now to chapter 15. Okay, and verse 12. So it says, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And I know we read this multiple times, but it was a kind of a drill method, all right, to repeat it over and over and over. All right, so you really get it in your system. Which you can't remember everything, but a lot of times most of what you remember is coming from the repetition. All right. Also, well, with me personally, if I don't teach it, it's just how my brain works. If I'm learning, I gotta teach it, and then that's how I really kind of drill it in, and then I keep going over and over and over. All right. So the first step with me personally is I gotta teach it. All right. The one thing you kind of read and learn, but to really put it in my system, I gotta teach the thing. And then you keep repeating, so on and so forth. Like they say, wash, rinse, repeat. I think that's how it goes. But let's keep going. So it says, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abraham, no, and the reason why we're reading this is because we're about to show you a major link. We mentioned thy seed, right? So it says, no, we're surety that, here it is right here, thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. And we know Abraham had more than one son, right? We know he had more than two sons because really the main candidates are Ishmael and Isaac, right? Even if you want to mention his servant from the earlier chapter, I almost want to say it was maybe 13 or it was somewhere in between those chapters there. But he had a servant. He was like, well, Lord, I got a servant here. If I need a seed for a covenant, I got my servant. But Lord, I'm gonna give you a child, which is talking about Isaac. So that's why knowing thy seed is so correct. The word seed is Zerai. Yes, Zerai, and it means seed, sowing, offspring. All right, offspring, descendants, posterity, children. You see, but it's talking about a particular children, particular seed line that this covenant is moving through. So it says, "No surety that thy seed," and it's about to break down. Excuse me, who thy seed is, because of the prophecy of those people. It's going to point directly to it. "No surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will," as a matter of fact, let me pause right here because it's going to explain it down below, but I'm curious about a cross reference real quick, because if so, Exodus should come up. Exodus 1, 2, 5, Exodus 22. Okay, Exodus, Exodus 12, 400 years, Exodus 12 and 40. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel, you see, it was spoiler alert, right? Because we already gave the answer, but you'll see why this is important as we go back. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt, see, the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was what? 430 years. So that's the prophecy. Now don't get thrown off because one said 400, one says 430. All right, the Lord doesn't have to deal directly like he'll say, I don't know, 3 years. So you think, I don't know, but basically like the Lord ain't gonna be like, he does it as he sees fit. If he wants it to be, 8 years on the head, 8 years, 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, right on the head, it's gonna be. Or it could be 8 years and then still 3 months and 4 days or something like that. All right. So it's still, it's not saying the prophecy is off or wrong. It's just that the Lord deals on his own time. So don't get thrown off because one says 430, one says 400. So it says was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self same day, it came to pass that all the host of Yahweh went out from the land of Egypt. And it's talking about who? The Israelites. Okay. I was looking at that Galatians. There's a couple good ones in Galatians 3 and I believe 4. We're not going to go with it right now. We haven't even actually hit too many New Testament scriptures about dealing with the covenant, but we're going to start to get some of those too. Not now, I'm just saying, in general. So it says, and he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Okay, so I'm glad we went off on that little side note there. So we got a little, extra, on the side. It says, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. All right, so it's talking about the Egyptians, as we just mentioned, right? Because we read it in the Exodus, right? The other chapter in Exodus says, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance, which we'll also read that in Exodus, right? Where we spoiled the Egyptians, took this, took that, took gold and all these different things. Okay, it says, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. Okay, so it says, but in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. And in the same day, Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, all right, solidifying the promise, okay, because he promised a certain land and so on and so forth. He told him to get out of your father's house. I'm going to show you a land. I'm going to give you and thy seed, right? So it says a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land. But we just pointed out who that seed is. Those are the children of Israel. That's why it's referencing Egypt here, because he's been given a prophecy of those people being in captivity to the Egyptians. That's the children of Israel. See? So there's a major connection that goes down, right? It says, unto thy seed have I given this land from the river Egypt, which is the Nile River, unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Bear with me a second here. All right, I have to go get a water. So yeah, so it says, in the same day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land from the river Egypt, unto the great river, the river Euphrates. All right. So, and we're going into this one. I'm gonna keep, just keep with the connector. Psalms 105, right? And 6. O ye seed of Abraham, right? And you just say, to thy seed, all right? This is right. All right, your offspring, your descendants, posterity, all right, your children, okay? Which, of course, it meant that his descendants, but also it had to go through a direct child, which was given to him, who was Isaac. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen, you see? Children of Jacob, which is talking about the 12 tribes of Israel, the Hebrew Israelites. His what? His chosen, right? Bachayar, chosen, chosen one, elect of the Most High. You see? Let's see what this one says too. To choose, elect, decide for, all right? To be chosen, all right? To be selected, you see? And you can read more from Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6, and probably a few verses down, all right? So going back, it says, O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen. Okay? So it says, he is Yahweh, our power. His judgments are in all the earth. He hath remembered his covenant forever. All right? That's why I mentioned Abraham, because the covenant, the promises started with Abraham, right? It says, he hath remembered his covenant forever. The word which he commanded to 1,000 generations. Which covenant he made, there you go, with Abraham and his oath unto Isaac. As a matter of fact, let's see what cross references. It should send us back here. Yep, there you go. Genesis 17 and 2. As a matter of fact, just pull it up. Genesis 17:2. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. Okay, so and Genesis 22:16, and said, by myself have I sworn, said Yahweh, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. Now that's a good scripture, but it's not exactly, we didn't really not exactly need that one. Thought we'd get something out of that one. So it's the same thing here, because it's mentioning thy seed. All right. For unto thee and to thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. Right? Which is talking about Isaac in that scripture. And behold, Yahweh stood above it and said, I am Yahweh, power of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. This is talking to Jacob right here. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. See? So who's the seeds of Jacob when you get that far down the lineage? It's his 12 sons. Okay? So who comes from those 12 sons today? The names of the people that have been changed to blacks and Dominicans and Hispanics and Puerto Ricans and Mexicans and Jamaicans and Haitians and whatever else I didn't mention, right? Those are the 12 tribes of Israel today. See? That same seed, right? So that's why it's important to know who you are, know who your powers are, right? Yahweh Shah, because understanding that promise goes to you and not the whole entire world, like the churches are trying to insert and say and teach. Okay, it's just more of the same there. I thought we might actually get something that was from Isaac directly, but yeah, like Genesis 19, Genesis 21. All right, more so deals with Isaac, but overall we can still roll with what it's saying here because it's still straightforward. With which covenant he made with Abraham and his oath unto Isaac. and confirm the same unto Jacob. You see, continue with Jacob now for a law. So that's why Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is their names are usually synonymous one with another. You usually always hear that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because that's who the covenant moved throughout. That's the seed. When it says thy seed, that's the seed. And to Israel, or maybe not Abraham, of course, because he would the promise started with him, but going down after Abraham says, into Israel for an everlasting covenant. All right. So it says, and confirm the same unto Jacob, which Jacob is our forefather, whose name was changed to Israel, or Yashua in Hebrew, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant, meaning pretty much going down to us now, because like we just mentioned, the 12 sons, and then to us, right? Collectively known as a whole nation, though we are broken up by tribes, right? So there, with that being read, we're gonna jump over here, finally hit the New Testament, right? Actually, I might read this in NLT. Let's see what it says. So Romans chapter 9, look, Most High selection of Israel. Okay. Romans 9 and 2, NLT. My heart is filled with bitter sorrow and unending grief. All right, this is Paul now, mind you. It says, for my people, my Jewish brothers and sisters, I will be willing to be forever cursed. Okay, so Paul's telling you right now, who I'm crying out about right now is referring to my family members. Not exactly as in his direct family, or cousins or anything like that, meaning the overall family, us as a people, as a nation. Excuse me, the 12 tribes of Israel collectively. For my people, my Jewish brothers and sisters, I will be willing, all right, I will be willing to be forever cursed, cut off from the Messiah, if that would save them. All right. And as a matter of fact, let me get this real quick. I'll get it. Romans 11, right? And 1, it says, I ask then, has the Most High rejected his own people? The nation of Israel? You see? The nation of Israel. This is New Testament, man. So what did the church, so I don't understand. I mean, of course I understand it, but it's just false, but I'm making the point. How do the churches come up with replacing themselves or all the other, stuff that they come with? Because they'll quickly try to say that was Old Testament and they hang on the New Testament. But then in the New Testament, it says that the Most High has not rejected his own people, because they go back to the Old Testament time period when the Lord pretty much cast us aside, man, for disobedience constantly, right? So they try to make it say that it was permanent. But Jeremiah 31 says otherwise. It's not permanent. All right? As long as there's the sun and the moon and stars, we'll always be his people. We just need to repent and return back unto him, you see? So there's a lot of things that are said in the Old Testament that go directly against their doctrine. So they'll try to say that was Old Testament. But then when you come to the New Testament, and the New Testament still breaks down their whole, I guess you say, philosophy, right? So let's keep going. It says, of course not. I myself am an Israelite. Check this out. A descendant of who? Of Abraham. A member of the tribe of Benjamin. Remember thy seed? From Abraham to who? To Isaac, to Jacob, to the 12 tribes of Israel. And guess what? Benjamin was the last son born. All right. He was the full brother of Joseph. Obviously, all the other brothers are his half brothers, but he was the full brother of Joseph. All right. Joseph was the elder, and then Benjamin was the last son of that particular mother. But it doesn't matter. The father is important. But just to stay on point. You see, he's a Benjamite. That's why he says, "My people, Israel." You see. So the thing is, they're trying to go and grab Gentiles and say, see, these are the heathens. But wait a minute, Paul's saying that, hey, if I could have made the sacrifice myself, then it would have been for my people Israel. So why would he say that and then contradict himself by actually going to the heathens? Because he's not mentioning dying for the heathens or being sacrificed for the heathens or sacrificing this for the heathens or this, that for the, he's not mentioning anything about the heathens. He's saying my people Israel. And I'm also of Abraham, of the Israelites, the tribe of Benjamin. So where is heathen Gentiles in this? There's nowhere, you see. It says a descendant of Abraham and a member of the tribe of Benjamin. All right. Verse 2 says, no, The Most High has not rejected his own people, right? His own people, not everybody on the earth, his own people are the Israelites, whom he chose from the very beginning, all right? Going back to predestination. But it just had to play out in this earth, right? So it says, do you realize what the scriptures say about this? Elijah the prophet complained to the Most High about the people of Israel and said, such and such. We're not going to get into that, right? So uh let's go back to that. So having that understanding, let's go back to Romans 9, right? For my people, my Jewish brothers and sisters, I would be willing to be forever cursed, cut off from the Messiah, if that would save them, all right? My fellow Israelites, okay? Verse 4 says, which is the point. We're going to move on real quick. Matter of fact, let me go back to the KJV. Man, I didn't mean to pop. Well, hold on. Okay, yeah. We need the KJV. All right, so it says, for I could wish that myself were cursed from the Messiah, for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. You see? Ain't that the same thing we just read in Romans chapter 11? To whom pertained the adoption. So now he's already established, all right, who are Israelites. Okay? Matter, let's just get the word Israelite for the sake of this lesson. An Israelite, one of the nation of Israel, a name to be held in honor. All right? Yeah, because it's a great honor to be an Israelite, man. All right? So everything we read after this is all referring to the Israelites. So it says, to whom pertained the adoption, right? Because the Lord chose us as a people to himself, gave us his ways, his standards, his law, statutes, commandments, the dietary law, all those different things. We agreed, entered into the blood covenant. We transgressed. We got put under the curses, right? We were cast away as a people, okay? But then the Lord called us back in because it was always meant, all right? It was meant for us to be called back into him through our Lord and Savior Yahushua, who he sent as a sacrifice for us, which which connects us to the new covenant. See? All right? See, the adoption of children. Because he has to bring us back, but he's only going to bring back the remnant, not the whole nation. All right? It says, and the glory, which, I mean, just think about all the things of the kingdom, right? New bodies, all those different things. It says, and the what? And the covenants, going all the way back to our forefathers, beginning with Abraham, and we entered into in Exodus 24. Then it also talks about the new covenant in Hebrews chapter 8, still referring to Israelites only, man. And the giving up. So I mean, it just shows you so many different angles how this church doctrine just doesn't make sense, because it talks about the new covenant being only for the Israelites, but then you go all over the New Testament and talk about, see Paul was getting the Gentiles, the heathen Gentiles. All right, he was getting the heathens. Well, the Bible doesn't say that the heathens have an inheritance with the Israelites. You see, the Bible doesn't talk about the heathens being in the new covenant. So it's just their desperate scrambling, to be a part of not being destroyed and be a part of salvation. So it says in the covenants, it says, and the giving of the law. That's the most straightforward thing we can read there, because the law was only given to Israel. See? Because remember, it says up here at the top, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the giving of the law. You see? And the service of the Most High, which were the Levites, because that's what the tribe where the priest came from. They did the temple service, and the high priest would go into the Holy of the Holies. Want to see all those different things there. And then it says what? And the what? The promise is a land flowing with milk and honey, which we just read right from Abraham. All right, get you out of your father's house. So you see all that connects there? Get you out of your father's house. Okay, I'm going to show you this, and that. All right, and I'm going to establish my covenant with you and your seed after you. See? So it says, verse 5 says, whose are the fathers? So if you didn't get it up above where it says Israelites, it says, whose are the fathers? Because this is talking about in the same family, my brother, my kinsman, according to the flesh. Who are Israelites? Whose are the fathers? Like the same promises are the forefathers. Going back to what? Isaac, Jacob, the 12 sons. And then moving forward in history with those same people that come from the 12 sons. You see? Makes sense? So it says, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, the same thing he said up here, man, my brother, my kinsman, according to the flesh. So now he's talking about our forefathers that came before us, according to the same flesh, who what? Who are Israelites, right? Says the Messiah came. Matthew 15:24. I am only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You see, who is overall the Most High, blessed forever. Amen. Not as though the word of the Most High had taken none effect, for they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Neither because they are, because the Lord's only dealing with the remnant. It says neither which that look. These back to Genesis 25. Hold my button's in the way. I'm trying to get the X. As a matter of fact, what does that say? Beautiful. Check this out. These are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. Okay, that's going into the history we mentioned now, 25. This is where Jacob and Esau are born, twin brothers. Esau was the eldest. Okay, and the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh, and Yahweh said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And the elder was Esau, and the younger was Jacob. All right, bear with me a quick second. All right. Okay. So from Jacob, you get the 12 sons. So you see how it's a constant cycle of the same people. It doesn't change. Malachi 3:6, I am the Lord, I change not. And for you sons of Jacob are not consumed. So it says, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. Yeah, because you had Ishmael, all right, which also you have other sons of Abraham, which they're really not mentioned because they didn't matter. The one of the key players was Ishmael, but Ishmael was moved to the side for who? For Isaac, which we've already covered. Even though we didn't go directly to the chapter, we already covered that. Because it keeps saying Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Isaac was a brother of Ishmael. So why didn't it say Abraham, Ishmael, and Jacob? It wouldn't make sense because Ishmael didn't birth Jacob or Esau. All right, Isaac birthed Jacob and Esau. See? That's why I keep saying Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. To what? To thy seed, a particular people. Not universal, or there's another word I was looking for, but it's okay. So it says neither because they are the seed of Abraham, so no more Ishmael, all right? Well, there's never Ishmael, but you get my point. It says, are they all children? But there you go right there. In Isaac shall thy seed, you see how it keeps popping up? Thy seed be called. So this thy seed is very, very specific. Okay? Yes, Ishmael was Abraham's son. But when the Lord is referring to thy seed, he's referring to Isaac. And when he mentions the same thing to Isaac and he says thy seed, he's referring to Jacob. And when it gets to Jacob, say no more, because thy seed from Jacob are 12 sons. And from the 12 sons come us. You see? So, it says, yep, in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Verse 8 says, actually, we don't need verse 8. All right, so yeah, we can stop right there. In Isaac, all right? Yeah, because there's more we can get on this, but I don't want to go into that right now, because that's very good to go into that too, because it mentions the same thing, all right? Because that's the history down here. We just talked about Genesis 25. That's why it popped up, okay? It cuts. Even Paul is repeating the history that's telling you that Esau, who's a heathen, has nothing to do with this, and nor do the other heathens. See, that's all the history we're just reading there in Genesis 25th chapter. Okay. So, and that's why Romans chapter 9 is just extremely important chapter in the book of Romans. Romans chapter 9 and 11, which there's some good points in 10 too, but Romans 9 and Romans 11, hey, it breaks down everything you need to know about the Israelites being the Lord's people, and him dealing with them. And 11, goes into the Gentiles, all right? Showing you that those Gentiles are Israelites. So it brings both sides of that particular story together and seals the deal. Showing you that it was always Israel from the Old Testament even to the New Testament. You think Paul was stupid? Or Paul misread? Or, he didn't know the history? Right? Remember he said, I was raised with Pharisees, man, since I was young. By Gamaliel, who was very skilled. Right? So Paul knew his stuff, man. You think this man was tripping up on the not even necessarily the law, but the old writings, the Torah and stuff like that? You think Paul was tripping? No, he wasn't tripping up on it. He had that information clear, just as we have it clear today. All right. So yeah. So let's jump over here to this. Just get a couple scriptures from there. Just a good mention off the last points that we just made. All right, because we just read right here. It says what? Who are Israelites, to whom pertained the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of the Most High and the promises. So if we pull up Isaiah 41 and 8, but thou Israel art my servant, Jacob whom I have chosen, the what? The seed of Abraham, my friend. Now wait a minute. You might ask, well, Isaac was Abraham's son. Jacob's not Abraham's son. No, he's not. He's his grandson, but it's still going in the line where it says thy seed. Okay? And a lot of times when it says son, it's always not direct son. Sometimes it'll be son, grandson, great grandson. Okay? It says, but thou Israel art my servant, Jacob whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. That's why it's so important to understand when it says thy seed, when it's spoken to Abraham, it's talking about a particular seed line that is going to continue through Isaac to Jacob. Thou whom I have taken from the ends of the earth and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, thou art my servant, I have chosen thee and not cast thee away. Wait a minute. Didn't we just read that? Where did we just read that at? Romans chapter 11. I say then, hath the Most High cast away his people? God forbid. This will just show you that there's two things happening in the churches. They're reading this and they see it's clear and understanding it, but they go on with the lie because of their false doctrine that they follow, or they're not reading at all, which majority of them don't read, all right? But they're not reading at all because they would come across this, and there's no way you can say that the Lord changed in the New Testament. I say then, hath the Most High cast away his people? God forbid, for I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. See? The Most High hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Would not, what? Well, we don't even need the next part, all right? The Most High hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Backing up, it says what? Thou whom I had taken from the ends of the earth, and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, thou art my servant, I have chosen thee, and not cast thee away. All right, you see? It's the same thing over and over and over and over. Okay, let's go back to Romans chapter 9. As a matter of fact, let's go into that. Romans chapter 9 and just read down to that point. Because I was going to stop. Let's go back. And we'll close it from here. So it says, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. That is, they which are the children of the flesh. These are not the children of the Most High. All right. So Ishmael is out the picture, and so is Esau, because those are the only two candidates. Now, if you want to mention Abraham's other sons, who were never really directly mentioned, you can mention them too, but they don't matter. Okay, they're cut out the picture. Abraham's servant, cut out the picture. Ishmael, Genesis 17 chapters, cut out the picture. Genesis the 25th chapter and the 27th, 25th and 27th chapter, Esau's cut out the picture. You see? But the children of the promise are counted for the seed. So who did the promise move down from? It was originally promised to Abraham. It moved down to Isaac. Then it moved down to Jacob. You see? So it doesn't matter if Abraham had 800 children. All right, the children of the promise are one seed line out of all those 800,000 children that he could have had. And I'm just making a point, though. Okay, he definitely didn't have 800 children. I'm just making a point. The Lord chose one particular seed line to continue the covenant through. Okay, it says, for this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. That goes back to the history in Genesis, right? And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of the Most High, according to election, you see, according to election, the art of picking out, choosing. That's why he says who he had not cast off his people, whom he foreknew. You see, the covenant has always stayed the same. as we read yesterday at camp, all right? That he made his covenant, he established his covenant forever. And that covenant was established with Israel. So it's established with Israel forever, never changing and bringing in other parties, okay? Nor casting us off permanently. It says that the purpose of the Most High, according to election, might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. It was said unto her, the elder shall shun the younger, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So we've written out everybody out of the category who doesn't belong. And the promise which was made to Abraham, which has to do with the covenant, went from Isaac to Jacob to his 12 sons, and from his 12 sons to us, and has always remained the same. So that's pretty much it for this lesson. Lord, will you edify to that? That's what I'm going to say. Shalom.